Hey everybody, there's a lot of interesting chatter about Derek Carr that I think is unfortunate in total. And basically, uh, there are questions whether or not he is a franchise quarterback, and that's strange. It's very strange. I think, however, I want to address why I think there's certain people who hold that idea, and it's because in 6 years with the Raiders, he's had one playoff appearance, and he hasn't had this string of seasons where he's put up gaudy statistics. And it seems that in an era of 5,000 yard quarterbacks like Jameis Winston or Matt Stafford, if you don't reach that level, there's some people who think, God, there's something wrong with you. Well, he has reached Derek Carr, the 4,000 yard level, several times now. But that's not why he's a franchise quarterback, because you could do that in 1 year and find yourself with another team the next. The reason why Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback is simply because the Oakland Raiders and many of you made him that. A franchise quarterback is a quarterback that a team has decided to not just make its name its starter, but to make its starter. To say we're going to pencil that person in and we're going to build the team around that person. And that is precisely what Derek Carr has been for the Raiders. Remember, when Carr came in, I'm one of the people that said, he needs to go through a true competition, win the job. But I felt that he was being essentially anointed the job over Matt McGloin. And Matt McGloin had a technically better approach to his passing game than Derek Carr did. But Derek Carr was the chosen one. He was everything the Raiders wanted. He was a second round pick, not quite first round, but second round pick, which meant he was affordable. A local guy who went to Fresno State, who put up great numbers at Fresno State, well regarded, a Christian who had the right values that you want a quarterback to have if you are going to put that person out as a leader, okay? And he brought intangibles to the table enough so that the Raiders said, this is the man we want to build our team around. It doesn't matter who that player is. It doesn't matter if it's Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston is the Buccaneers franchise quarterback. Jameis Winston is the quarterback the Buccaneers have built their organization around. It doesn't matter if it's Ben Roethlisberger. It doesn't matter if it's Russell Wilson. It doesn't matter if it's Eli Manning or Peyton Manning. Take a number of quarterbacks in history and look at how they became starters for the most part. And what you find is among those that are the best known, the most successful, they were the ones that were penciled in as the starters or the heir apparents. Even Aaron Rodgers was the heir apparent to Brett Favre, and Brett Favre knew it, and he acted like it. So in other words, here came in a man, Aaron Rodgers from Cal, who was the 25th pick, but everyone knew the minute he stepped in the building, that quarterback was being groomed to be the next franchise quarterback for the Packers. The Packers had the luxury of having two. Favre, Rodgers, okay? But they wanted those quarterbacks to succeed. Or look at how the Dallas Cowboys put Tony Romo, and I'm sure Tony would agree, in position to be the franchise quarterback. Although it didn't really start that way. Media pointed to his performance and said, hey, look, this guy should start. But the Cowboys agreed, they put him in, and they made him the franchise quarterback. Dak Prescott, Buffalo preseason performance, first year. The Cowboys could have simply elected, hey, to not put him in the position to be a franchise quarterback that they have, and now they have to pay him true franchise quarterback money. If you want another example, let's take those quarterbacks that should be franchise quarterbacks but are not. Look at Teddy Bridgewater. He was arguably going to be the franchise quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. In fact, he was on his way to being just that until his very tragic leg injury. Then he came back, okay? But then when he went to the Jets brought in a person I feel is a very questionable choice to be their quarterback, and that's from USC, Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, to me, is not a franchise quarterback. Why? Because you have to really develop his game with a short rollout passes, because he has a tendency to throw off target above 15 yards. He has that knack for throwing the pass that's just behind the receiver so it gets intercepted. And so you have to be very careful what kind of plays you call for him, what kind of offense you ask him to run. And you have to have a really great running game. But having said all that, the Jets made a decision to make Sam Darnold their franchise quarterback and not the better performing Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater had a better performance preseason. Teddy Bridgewater had a better performance preseason than Sam Darnold. And yet he had playoff experience, did Teddy Bridgewater. And yet they shipped him off to the Saints, where he is technically the heir apparent, but then you have Tavon Hill, who thinks he should be the starter. The gift that Teddy Bridgewater needs is a team that believes in him. So the point that I'm making is that, going back to the Raiders made the decision to make Derek Carr a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback is someone that you give him a chance to screw up. You put him in there, you give him the chance to screw up. BT says Teddy should go to Miami. I think Teddy checked out Miami, and he didn't feel, for whatever reason, it was the place he wanted to go. He had that option before. He didn't take it. He decided he was go to New Orleans. So I don't know if he's going to go that route again, right? It wouldn't make any sense to me unless the situation changed down there so much that he felt, well, I got to go in that direction. I would be surprised if he took that. Now, for those people who for those people like some of you out who wrote, like BT says, well, Teddy should go to Miami, okay? Or I think more pointedly, the Raiders need a new quarterback, which means you want to get rid of Carr. There's a risk that goes with that, all right? The Geek Freak just timed in. He says that Derek Carr is too sensitive to be a true franchise quarterback. He hears everything being said about him. He's the K Durant of QBs. I don't know if you think about it. And I see your point. He does pay a little too much attention to social media, but that has nothing to do with whether or not he's a franchise quarterback. And that has everything to do with sensibilities he has that he, needs to adjust. I would argue that there are a number of quarterbacks that pay more attention to social media than they should. But I don't see where that attention, it only becomes a factor if Carr has allowed his performance to be hampered by something he read on social media. And I haven't seen that yet, okay? But here's the thing. I think Carr has a gigantic problem not of his own making. And that gigantic problem, not of his own making, is the Raiders' offense and the Raiders' defense. Offensively, he's not given enough technical tools to succeed. For example, the Raiders should roll him out 5 to 10 times a game. They don't. Too often they leave him in as a sitting duck. The Raiders have made great strides in terms of building a better running game, without question, with Josh Jacobs at the helm, right? But in terms of the way the passing game is designed and having various launch points each and every game, I haven't seen that. BT says the Texans are stronger and other teams simply going to run circles around the Raiders. And there are other people, Geek Forgets me, would I take Carr or Garoppolo? And again, that goes back to my point here. I don't think that Carr is the problem. And I don't think that Garoppolo is better than Carr. I don't. I think Jimmy was brought along into a system that doesn't take advantage of his ability to throw short time passes effectively from the pocket. From the pocket. He's not the best mobile guy. You can engineer that mobile ability to a degree, but from the pocket, okay, if you want me to say it, I'll say it. I think from the pocket, Jimmy is slightly better than Derek in terms of throwing the time pattern through the middle. And that's now he's short, okay, but in his ability to see the windows and get it there, he's better than Derek. Now, Derek's taller than he is. But Derek is also more mobile than Jimmy. And but that aspect of Derek's game hasn't been exploited. Derek Carr is a guy who can move. But the Raiders have tried to make him a pocket passer to the point of sticking him in situations where he's been a sitting duck. When I say he's mobile, I'm not saying that Carr is the kind of guy who thinks run first. No. But when he is asked to run, he can run very effectively. Okay? There's some people who have a running mentality, like Lamar Jackson's the ultimate example, right? He has a running mentality, but he can throw the heck out of the ball. He can throw in from the pocket if need be. So he's the new gold standard, right? BT says Jalen Hurts, good example. Mush wants to trade him for Josh Allen. I don't believe Carr should be traded. I think as the Raiders go into their 7th year with him and into Las Vegas, I think the Raiders need to focus on the continued redevelopment of the receiving core, because they haven't found that guy yet. They got Hunter, right? But Hunter is more your slot back. But in terms of finding a guy and like Cortland Sutton with the Broncos, they haven't quite done that yet. Get Me Too says keep Carr. Yeah, keep Carr, you know? And BT thinks that Carr is afraid of at times. My only concern about Carr, I think he answered this year. He finished, was the injury issue. Remember there was that time in his career where it looked like he was becoming a China doll? And this past year, he came out of it better. He had a better line blocking, better game plans more often than not, although not enough to catapult them into the playoffs. Almost, though. David Ritter says they should draft Jerry Jeudy, a wide receiver from Alabama. Yeah. That's a good idea. So I'm not holding any fantasy that this is going to end the discussion, but I just want to throw my 2 cents in. I think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. And the reason is because the Raiders have already made him a franchise quarterback. The question is, should they continue to have him at the center, at the helm of the Raider offense into Las Vegas? I think the answer is yes. However, he's reaching his 7th year in the offense. And after the 8th and 9th year, the Raiders need to start asking a question. Okay, who's next? All right. And they need to fold that person in. CeeDee Lamb or Judy are both amazing. Yeah. BT says, if you have to get through KC and Baltimore, the Raiders are toast. That's a defense issue. You know, I really think that's a defense issue. When I think of Kansas City and Baltimore, I look at a Raider defense that, in the case of the Chiefs, was just torched. I mean, torched so bad they're still burnt, like, you know, crispy burnt. You know what I mean? So, and primarily because they couldn't adjust to the scheme, the overloads that the Chiefs would throw at them, particularly with that round motion, as I call it. And the Raiders seem to just get stuck in this mentality of playing a zone, not blitzing much. Very confusing. And I don't think Marinelli is the key. I think Marinelli is a mistake. And the Raiders, I find it disturbing that the Raiders traded a top-flight African-American, a black defensive line coach who should be credited with the development of Cleveland Farrell and Mason and Max Crosby, okay? And yet instead they get rid of him. That makes no sense to me. Oh, and because my pal Rod Marinelli is available. Oh, gee. Oh, okay. So now we're really going to look closely at the Raider run game this year and see if any difference is made. I'll bet you credits to Navy means the answer will be no. Okay. Fortunately, Buckner landed on his feet in Arizona. We'll see what happens with the Raiders, though. All right. I'm gonna take this up later. I just want to share with you my thoughts regarding Carr and this idea that he is or is not a franchise quarterback. I say he is because the Raiders made him such. What happened with Buckner is it's the friends thing. Well, I've got these friends I want to bring into my crew. Where do I place them? Well, get rid of Buckner for the legend. Everybody will understand that. But look, the Raiders brought in Marinelli, but they also brought in Austin King. So it's like two white coaches. The Raiders have 17% of their coaching staff black. Okay. Friends of John. It's like the friend. Hey, you're a friend of John Gruden, you get hired. That's what it looks like. It's not really so much a talent thing as this is. I'm gonna bring in my friend. Okay. Okay. So what about the Rooney Rule? What about casting your eye on finding black coaches who are good, getting to know them? See. BT says Gruden's going to have to get through the Chargers who are loading up. Chargers. Look, the Chiefs are the world champions now. Okay. So don't you think the world champions will be very hungry to clobber the Raiders either in Oakland or in Kansas City? I think so. All right. See you guys. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. Later. Yeah, I agree with you about the Broncos, yeah.